It is 6 o'clock, and we will open the Kerrville City Council meeting on July 12th at 6 o'clock. Mr. Goodness, where is he? Is he here? Oh, I'm sorry, we've got to do the invocation first. I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, we do, yes. And Joe is going to do it for us tonight.
You. Let us pray. Lord, thank you for letting us be here together. Thank you for a community living that we love. Thank you for the responsibility you've given to us as citizens to serve our community. Please let us be wise and patient and kind. Give us strength and wisdom, peace and honor. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we're ready for announcements.
We got some events coming up. Maybe hot outside, but that hasn't stopped either the library or Parks and Rec from lining up a bunch of stuff for people to do. So we'll start with the library. And all these events are before we meet again on the 26th. So youth events this week at the library. We've got the Callow performers tomorrow, July 13th and 20th. Both those pictures on the right are from the recent Callow performers. So it's been a fun time. A great event to show up to. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning. Kids Craft on the 14th and 21st. Story Time on the 18th and 25th. Lego Club on the 18th and 25th, and then a family movie on the 19th. And then we have 8 items for adults. I won't go through them all, but all this information is out there on the library's page if you want to check it out on the city's website. So I would encourage everybody to go check it out. All right. Upcoming parks events. If I can get, there we go. This Friday, I think this is the last Concerts by the River, July 15th for this round this summer. We have Corey Weaver Band and Jesse Wren. That starts at 7 p.m., so we're looking forward to that. Encourage everybody to come out for that. That's a fun time. 2 other events that are coming up. We've got a kickball league. The deadline to sign up for that is this Friday, July 15th, and play begins July 25th. And then there's an adult basketball tournament. I think the deadline for that is July 22nd. Play begins July 30th. So if you're in shape and you want to play in those leagues, feel free to give them a call. I'm going to pass on it forever. All right, pool promotional days. We have 1 left. That's July 23rd, family swim night. Swimming and family fun from 6:30 to 8:30. $2 admission includes a meal ticket. That's a Saturday night. And then the next day, Sunday, if you want to make a trip to San Antonio with people from Kerrville, we have Kerrville night. That's at Nelson Wolff Stadium over there, and we have approximately, we've sold some, but I think we have like 50 left. If we sell another 50, we get someone to throw out the first pitch. Is that right? That's correct. All right. So keep that in mind. If you want to find out more about that, again, that's on our website or on our Facebook page. Check out either one of those. And finally, we have a public input meeting about the Kerrville Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, the Singing Wind Master Plan. They'll be discussing that July 20th. 5:30 p.m. at the Dietert Center. So we'd like everybody to come out who wants to, check out and see what's going on with the Singing Wind Park over there. And that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council, any announcements? Yes.
Do you have a question? Okay. I have a couple. We still have, at our last meeting, the mayor gave a couple of board position openings that we have. We still have some for 4 of our boards: Main Street Advisory Board, Senior Services Advisory Board, the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, or TERS, and the Zoning Board of Adjustments. And then secondly, we're going to be having a town hall, or with City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission have had 2 joint meetings, workshops to discuss short-term rentals and their zoning regulations. And during our June 28th meeting, we voted unanimously to host a town hall to hear more from the citizens on this topic. So that will be held 2 weeks from now on Thursday, July 25th. That'll be at 6 p.m. and it'll be at the Dietert Center.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, Monday? Did I say, what did I say?
Thursday.
Thursday, I'm sorry, it's Monday,
On a
the
Monday.
25th.
Yes.
I got the date right, not the day. Monday, the 25th. Thank you.
All right, thank you for both of those. Anyone else? Anything?
I have some
Councilmember.
Yes.
Sorry, this is a personal issue, but I wanted anybody that is curious to know that I'm down here because a family member was exposed to COVID, and I have taken a negative test, and I have no symptoms. So that's why I'm here and masked up, so that if anybody had any questions about that. But my other thing is I'm going to wipe down my computer. Martin, it's not working, and I don't have my agenda. It's all on Granicus, and Granicus needs to be updated. So I don't have my agenda in front of me. So if my password can be updated now, or if I can get a paper copy, that would be great. Okay.
We didn't put her down there just because we don't like her.
Yeah, I didn't want anybody to think that I was in trouble. All right. Thank you,
Okay.
Shelley.
Are you good?
Well, I don't have any of the agenda bills, but yeah.
Thank you. Kim for Kim there. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Sorry to be high maintenance. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the only thing that I would like to add is that we just get so many questions as to why we are not in stage 1 restrictions for our watering. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's because everybody in the city is actually saving water. They are conserving water. And if you look at our yards, we're brown. We're not a green city. We're brown. So people are making conservation efforts. The second is, and this is one of those things that council voted in several years ago, our water reuse ponds. These are making a world of difference. These are being used for the sports fields, the golf courses, and if we didn't have those, we would be in water restrictions. We are using approximately half of half the potable water that we normally use in the summer. It is fantastic. And another question that the city is getting, I haven't had that one so much, we are not using river water. So we are not taking water from Comfort and Center Point and down the river. We are using, that water that we're using now is coming from our aquifers, right, EA?
Yes.
So we're not capturing their water and taking it away from them. So please help spread that word, and thank you to everybody for making a difference. And it is. So, okay, we are ready to present a kindness award, but we are going to put that off until one of the future meetings. We are not going to be doing that tonight, but we are going to do a proclamation recognizing July 2022 as National Parks and Recreation Month. And Ashley, I think it's appropriate if you come up and we present this to you. And you've got some board members.
I brought our team with us.
That is great. That is great. You want to introduce them before I do the proclamation?
Sure. So I have up here with us tonight our leadership team from our department, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Justin LaQuay, Park Operations Facility Superintendent.
I'm Deidre Flores, I am the Assistant Director.
Bobby Morris, I'm the Golf Pro Shop Manager.
Rosa Ledesma, I'm the Recreation Manager. Tina North, I'm the Office Manager.
And we thank you guys. You do a great job.
This team is
All right.
the one that does all of the hard work behind the scenes. Normally you see me at the meetings and in public, but this is really the group of folks and our leaders that get the hard work done, and I'm in them groups, our crews. So I wanted to make sure they receive recognition for it and get their faces out there.
Think it's great. All right. So, the City of Kerrville proclamation, whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the City of Kerrville, and whereas parks and recreation is vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and specifically the Kerrville Parks and Recreation Department's goal to encourage our community to get outdoors, be active, and play. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for sports, hike and bike trails, swimming, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, the city of Kerrville, Texas, county of Kerr, recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore, I, Judy Eichner, Mayor of the city of Kerrville, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month in Kerrville, and urge all citizens to join me as we recognize the importance and the value of parks and recreation, and further encourage citizens of Kerrville to visit area parks and become more familiar with the parks and recreation programs available to all residents. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Kerrville to be affixed this 12th day of July, 2022. So we thank you guys. Would you like to say a little bit about how many parks we have and just a little bit about our park system?
Yeah, so Kerrville has 27 official parks. We have 8 divisions within our department. We have about 50 staff. Majority of our programming that we do for the community is free. So we do lots of free movies, free concerts, things like that. And our crews do an excellent job taking care of our parks and facilities and community. And again, if you would like to have input to Singing Wind Park, please either email me or show up at the meeting and we'll get your ideas out on the list. So thank you all so much for what y'all do for us.
We are blessed with our park system, and thank all of you again for what you do for us, and keep up the wonderful work. So
Thank you.
We'll give that to you. Oh, we need a picture.
Can you get us all in, Stuart?
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you again. All right, at this time, we have our Visitors and Citizens Forum, and Shelley, if you will bring us into what we need there. Give us what we need there.
Any citizen with business not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the city council. Prior to speaking, each speaker must fill out the speaker request form and give it to the city secretary. The speaker request form must be submitted to the city secretary before the item is called or read into record. City council may not discuss or take any action on an item, but may place the issue on a future agenda. Each speaker is limited to 4 minutes. We do have 2 citizen speakers signed up, Mike and Mary Olden.
Good evening, City Council.
If you'll tell us, again, tell us
Yeah,
your name and
Mike and Mary
address.
Olden, citizens of Kerrville, have been here 52 years, and Mary's coming on to 30. We live at 404 Circle Avenue in Westland Place, part of Kerrville, about an 80-year-old neighborhood. Just wanted to give you our gratitude for what you've been doing to the streets, especially the street department and the city staff, getting it done, and we really appreciate it. You're doing a good job. Finally, some improvements.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Compliments instead of complaints.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments.
Thank you very, very much, and it's wonderful to have you wagging and not barking at us. That's super. Thank you.
That's the end of the citizen speakers.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we have the consent agenda before us, and Roman, we're going to get ahead of you on one. I believe
Okay.
I was substituted with by Mayor Blackburn on one of them, so we have made that correction. Are there any others that we need to make or any that need to be pulled? We're good? Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve consent agenda items 4A, 4B, and 4C.
All right, a second?
I'll second.
And everyone in favor, please raise your right hand. And it passes. Thank you very much. All right, we have our first public hearing and resolution. Shelley, if you'll read us in.
Resolution number 39-2022, a resolution granting a conditional use permit to authorize a car wash on property generally located northwest of the intersection of Commerce Street and State Highway 27, Junction Highway, comprising an approximate 3.57 acres and consisting of Lot 2, Block 1, Starkey Manor subdivision. Said property is located within a general commercial zoning district C3 and making said permit subject to certain conditions and restrictions. We do have one citizen speaker signed up, however, this is a public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution for a car wash. This property is Zone C3, which does allow a car wash by right. However, since it's within 500 feet of the 100-year floodplain, it does require a conditional use permit. The supplemental requirements in the zoning code do require that car wash facilities utilize a recirculation system. They have incidental setbacks, setbacks on incidental equipment, such as the blowers and vacuums to adjacent property lines. Are required to screen when adjacent to residential property. Lighting cannot produce glare on adjacent properties. And again, within 500 feet of the 100-year floodplain are required to go through a conditional use permit process. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval with a 4-2 vote with no specific conditions to the property. Go through, there's the property in relation to the floodplain across Junction Highway. As you can see, it is just under 500 feet away from the property line. And then there's the site plan. Again, the internal circulation system will keep all the car wash within their system. The external to the drainage will go through a normal stormwater drainage plan. Be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Okay, council, questions for them?
I had a question about why are we approving a conditional use permit with no conditions?
The staff and planning commission did not say that any additional conditions were necessary. The supplementary requirements and the condition of the property was sufficient.
That are already required for all car washes.
That is correct.
So then my question would go to more of a policy question that we may want to look at a later time. But if we require a conditional use permit for all car washes within 500 feet of the floodplain, right? What are we doing why don't we codify and say they can use it? Because what would make us say no? If they're already required to follow those same standards, what would make us say no and what would have us say yes? We might as well codify them.
It would depend on case by case based on the property itself. If there was any other negative impacts on the floodplain, that would give us the opportunity to review that as necessary.
Can you give me an example? I'm not clear on that.
I don't have any specific examples, but if the property did have a negative impact the way it was being developed on the floodplain, we could add additional conditions or deny the project. And in this case, we found that there were no additional conditions necessary to mitigate negative impacts on the floodplain.
And I think it would be better to do them case by case, just in case something came up. Anyone else with questions, comments before we open the public hearing? I had a couple. There's going to be a detention pond, yes?
Yes. So they've started their preliminary design on the site plan for stormwater drainage. And so there is a detention pond on the north end of the property back behind the commercial buildings.
Is that going to be a large one, a small one? What, do you know? Any idea?
I don't. No,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay. And then another question, and I'm sure there are graves, but they're behind the tire store, I believe, right?
That's correct. The cemetery is located
Go west of the discount tire.
Right there.
right there.
Okay, for some reason, I had them in my mind, they were further over, okay. So we're good with that. Will there be any access onto Commerce Street?
Yes.
There will be.
All access is onto Commerce Street.
It is onto Commerce, so there's none onto Highway 27.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. And then I thought I had one more, but there's no access onto the access road that leads into Walmart.
That's correct.
That's correct. It's only on Commerce.
Mhm.
Okay, you're right. Okay, and recirculating water absolutely, positively, all the time, right? All right, okay. There weren't any responses to any of the notices that were sent out, okay. And then another question, and I know some of these are kind of maybe not that important, but a question for me. If this was not in the floodplain, then it would not, I just wanted to clarify, would not require the CUP.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. All right, anyone else? I've asked all these silly questions.
No, that is-
All right. At this time, then, we will open the public hearing at 6:22. And I
We
thought
do have one citizen speaker, Jeff Newland.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. My name's Jeff Newland, and I'm the Director of Construction Services for Smitty's Car Wash, headquartered here in Texas. We're a growing car wash company that currently has 20 properties in 6 different markets, including here in the Texas Hill Country. We've purchased 2 parcels, one on Sidney Baker and one on Junction Highway here in Kerrville, and have submitted our building plans and are working with the city of Kerrville to break ground within the next 15 to 21 days, with plans of opening both of those car washes early 2023. In addition, we're also working with the city of Fredericksburg to bring a Smitty's to our neighbors to the north. In total, we plan to have 5 to 6 locations here in the Texas Hill Country, with a total investment of between $25 and $30 million, which will create 120 new jobs for the area. Specifically here in Kerrville, we're investing $10 million in creating 40 new jobs between our 2 washes. Our car washes will feature a sleek powder-coated steel building with a curved roof, lots of storefront glass, and state-of-the-art technology that will provide a superior wash for the residents. At Smitty's, you're not just washing your car, you're having a great experience washing your car. So I'd like to take just a moment to emphasize why we chose not to purchase the parcels, or why we chose to purchase the parcels we did in Kerrville. Both of our properties are in compliance with the Kerrville 2050 plan and are zoned by right without requiring a conditional use permit. We did look at pursuing several sites in and around the area of the Starkey Manor parcel. However, we chose not to pursue those sites in order to be the first to market and to not interfere with the floodplains that surround the beautiful waterways of Kerrville. I'm not sure if the Starkey Manor parcel has closed or if closing is contingent upon receiving the conditional use permit. But if a conditional use permit were to be granted for the proposed location, it would be 4/10 of a mile from our location to the west at 800 Junction Highway that we currently own. In closing, all of us at Smitty's are excited to bring our 2 state-of-the-art facilities to the people of Kerrville, providing jobs, and we look forward to becoming a valued partner in the Kerrville community. I appreciate your time and welcome any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you.
Council, any questions, comments? All right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir, we appreciate it. All right, council, what is your pleasure? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve resolution number 39-2022.
Mayor?
And
Could
I
I
forgot-
suggest, okay, never mind.
Yes. We will close the public hearing at 6:25. Thank you. Now.
My motion still stands.
Your motion still stands. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. All right, Drew, resolution, I won't read the resolution number, but 5C, and Shelley, if you'll read us in.
Okay, it'll be 5B, resolution number 40-2022, a resolution granting a conditional use permit to authorize a short-term rental unit on the property consisting of lots 2 and 3, Block 2, Virgil Merrill, 3rd edition, more commonly known as 1203 Donna K. Said property is located within a single-family residential zoning district R1 and making said permit subject to conditions and restrictions. We do have 2 citizen speakers signed up, however, this is a public hearing.
All right, thank you. Drew,
This is a short-term rental for, or conditional use permit for a short-term rental, excuse me, on Donna K. See the property there on your screen. There is one grandfathered property down the street on Carol Ann, or at the corner of Carol Ann and Donna K. And here is the site plan. This is a 3-bedroom house, since they would be required 4 parking spaces. As you can see by the long driveway, they have ample room in the existing driveway. On June 2nd, Planning and Zoning Commission approved with unanimous vote. Be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
anybody have any questions for him? Is the owner here?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to speak before, then we'll open the public hearing?
I'm open to questions. Basically, we're just having
If you go to the mic, please.
Excuse
and-
me, hello.
And tell us who you are.
My name is Leslie Garcia. I am basically just, we're trying to short-term rent our house while we're not there at home. My husband does work out of state often, and so we want to be able to travel around with him, but that's still going to be our primary residence. So it's not going to be a full-time short-term rental. It's just going to be kind of here and there throughout the year as we're able to kind of go be with him for a while and then come back and just mostly be at home, really. So yeah, it's kind of just a little side venture that we're going to try out and see how we do. But really, that's all. If I'm welcome any questions.
Okay, council, anyone? All right, thank you. At 6:28, we will open the public hearing.
We do have 2 citizen speakers signed up. Anna Ramirez.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Anna Ramirez, and I am, I live at Starkey, 208 Starkey. I'm basically just here to say, again, these short-term rentals are, I'm opposed to them. And I'm opposed to this one for the same reasons. Excess traffic, noise, parking issues. And I'm going to keep speaking as long as I can on these short-term rentals. It worries me because of the value of my home, because I became a citizen of a beautiful neighborhood that now has 3 short-term rentals in my street. So I'm very concerned, not only for my home, for my family, but also for the value of my home. That's another thing that I'm concerned about. So I'll keep opposing these as long as I can. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask?
Yes.
So, ma'am, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask. So, you brought up a couple of concerns. So besides the home value, parking was one, and what was the other one? If you don't mind.
Excess traffic, parking, and noise.
Okay. Do you mind expressing or elaborating more on your concerns on the parking? Simply because looking at the driveway, it's extensive.
Okay.
So if you don't mind elaborating on what specific concerns you have there, so we may be able to ask the applicant.
Well, in my experience, like on the Starkey, there's always not just the people that are coming in, but guests of those people that are coming in. So there's issues with parking in front of my home or parking in areas that they're not allowed to park.
Okay.
And so because my street is real small and there's not a lot of parking available, it kind of trickles onto in front of my home where I'm unable to pull out safely. and it just impedes the street because the street is kind of short to begin with.
Sure.
And narrow. So and I forgot to say also another thing. The 2050 plan, I did not, when I read it, I did not notice anything about short-term rentals. So going forward on the 2050 plan, that's another concern that I have. And I know things like this come up, but I think that we need to put the brakes on this. By 2050, I have no idea what we're gonna be looking at as far as short-term rentals. I mean, I know that's a long time from now, but I think we need to start putting the brakes on this for a little bit to make sure we don't end up like Fredericksburg.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Sides.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about short-term rentals, and this one in particular as well as the next one. Mrs. Ramirez and I have been working very hard to work with the city council and planning and zoning to limit these short-term rentals because people who move into residentially zoned neighborhoods have an expectation that they will be living in a residential neighborhood. These short-term rentals totally change the fabric of the neighborhood. We're losing neighbors. We used to have a whole street of neighbors, and now there are 3 that are active short-term rentals, but there are a total of 4 that are on our street, and there's only 9 houses on our street, which is the parking, like as she was saying, is horrendous. But what I wanted to bring to your attention is because the people who are really pushing hard on short-term rentals are telling us that, well, Austin has to do it because they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says you don't have options, that people who own property have the right to do what they want with their property. So after some digging, we've formed an affiliation with the Texas Neighborhood Coalition. There is in the development right now a Kerrville chapter, and we hope to have it finalized hopefully by the end of the week. This has been very informative to us. I've been in conversation with the senior attorney who represented the city of Arlington as they went forward to they've banned all short-term rentals in residential areas. And I wanted to share with you specifically what the court, how this went down in Arlington and what we can possibly do here, because Arlington is just one that's learned from Austin, and there are many more on how to preserve and keep the dignity of our neighborhoods. In April of 2019, Arlington adopted an ordinance that reaffirmed and enforced a ban on all forms of STRs, including owner-occupied, in most residential areas in the city. In 2021, STR owners appealed the decision, but the court agreed with the city of Arlington's claims, which were that the use of single-family residences by individuals for short periods of time may negatively impact the residential character of many neighborhoods by reducing communication and accountability between permanent residents by partially substituting permanent residents with transient visitors. The regulation of the use and operation of such short-term rental property is intended to prevent the further erosion of pre-existing and stable single-family neighborhoods and further advance the city council's objective of championing great neighborhoods. The 2050 plan is doing that. It's asking, that's the promise I feel like the city has made to the citizens, that we're going to champion our neighborhoods. It's filtered all through that plan. When we take neighbors away, we take residences away and replace them with overnight lodging businesses, which is what these are. We lose our neighbors. Without neighbors, you don't have a neighborhood. The very fabric of Starkey Street has changed dramatically, and the houses that were refurbished look nice, but you can hardly see them with all the cars which are parked in the yard and on the sidewalks and everywhere else because there's not room for it. Plus, we don't have neighbors. We don't have people now that are going to our churches, volunteering to, work with sports teams with kids. These visitors that are coming in are not an integral part of our neighborhoods. They're important as as tourists, and we want those monies, but the last thing I just wanted to say, that went to the Supreme Court of Texas, and Texas affirmed Arlington was, and they still have that in place. And I can provide you with many, many more resources of other communities across the country who are doing the same thing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be interested in getting some of that information too
Yes.
afterwards.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any comments, council? Any questions you might have? I did have a question for the owner. Have you visited with your neighbors? And are they aware of what you're planning to do?
Well, I have not visited specifically with them in person. I did send out a personal letter after or about the time when the notices, public hearing notices were being mailed out. I also sent out several letters of the people kind of in the general 300 feet from our property line, just letting them know what had been going on. I have one neighbor in particular that we do have more communication with, and she and I have just talked about it in a little bit. I think for the most part, because we do have ample parking, even, I don't know if you're gonna go back to the map that we had, you can see the other map. We can see a little bit better. We have that curved driveway, and then it comes on inside, and you see where it has a number 3 right
Yes.
there? That's not yard space anymore. We actually gravelled that, so that's actually parking as well. So all of that inside, we're able to have completely off-street parking for several vehicles, up to maybe 9 even, but I really don't imagine that's what this is for, because we also want to protect our house, because that is our home, you know, we're not leaving it behind. So yeah, definitely we want to protect our property, we want to protect our neighborhood as well, because we do love where we live. But we do have that opportunity with a lot of these websites that we can post our rental with to screen the tenants that are coming in. And we do intend to be very particular with who is coming into our house. So I just wanted to say that as well in this particular case.
Another question, in the statement that you provided to the city, you said your hope is to host no more than 10 guests at a time.
Oh,
You
right.
are aware that 10 is the maximum?
Oh, yes, 10 is the
Okay.
maximum, and I actually don't expect it to be anywhere close to that, but I have a family, my family is a member of 6. So, you know, by the time you bring our kids in, and, you know, the number can kind of fluctuate, but I really don't think it's going to be more than that, because the house is set up more for, you know, the number of beds that we have. It doesn't make sense for it to be close to that number. I would imagine much closer to a more regular family size.
Wasn't worried about being close to it, I just wanted to make sure that you understood
Oh,
that
yes.
10 was the max.
Yes. 10
Okay.
cuts off for sure.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, council, at this time, do we have a motion?
I want to say before we have a motion that this is a vexing problem in that we have zoning that says what you can and cannot do on your property. You know, you can't put a chicken farm next to a house in a R1 route, in an R1 zone. You can't do a lot of things with your property. We are already telling people what they can and cannot do with their property. At the same time, the short-term rentals are not the enemy. They're trying to follow the rules that we've set forward. And the problem for me is that we're hoping to have a policy formulated that's fair to the property owners and fair to the neighbors. But we just keep every meeting having these to approve without that policy formulated. It's as if we're driving the car with the windshield painted black. We can't make a decision because we don't have the policy set. And I don't speak for the other members of council, but for this member of council, I'm tired of this. Every meeting we have these. And we need to get that policy done. Now, we're having a town hall. We're going to hear from both sides. But goodness gracious, this is no way to run a railroad. And sorry to be on my soapbox, but it's very, very frustrating.
No, I strongly concur with Councilmember Herring. Imagine dealing with this for over 12 months since you've been on council, I think at the very first, or one of the very first short-term rentals that I voted on, that came before council when I was on council, was to have these discussions that we're having now and to come up with some policy. It's taken a while for us to do it. Finally, we're doing it, but it's long overdue. And it is. I concur. It is pretty frustrating when we're still having these discussions, and my tenure over a year later.
Well, I mean, at least one citizen has asked us to pause. She's asked us to pause before. And these are too many. We don't have a clear policy. And what's happening, in my opinion, is some people are taking advantage, not you, I'm sorry.
That's fine, I understand.
Not taking advantage of the absence of a policy, and it's almost causing a land rush on some streets. Get it in before the gate closes. And that's not healthy for anything. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. I'm not pointing fingers at the homeowners. I'm not pointing fingers at the STR. I'm certainly not pointing fingers at the staff. I'm just saying it's a frustrating situation.
And I think I do need to close the public hearing at 6:41. I think we all agree with you, Joe. I think we're all frustrated over it. And,
I mean, I could make a motion to table this until we have a policy, but that's not fair to the people who have followed the rules, gone through the process, invested in that property.
And right now, technically, we need to look at what we have before us based on the
Agreed.
policy that is in place at
Agreed.
this moment.
Agreed.
And as soon as we can, we need to get better things in place.
Agreed. And again, no offense to.
I understand, definitely.
All right. At this time, do we have a motion? I will move so that we have something on the floor that we approve resolution number 40-2022. Do we have a second?
I second that.
All in favor, raise your right hand. And it is approved. Thank you, council. 5C. Shelley, read us in, please.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 41-2022, a resolution granting a conditional use permit to authorize a short-term rental unit on the property consisting of Lot 3, Block 1, Shriner High School Addition, and more commonly known as 729 Robinson. Said property is located within the single-family residential with accessory dwelling unit zoning district, R1A, and making said permit subject to conditions and restrictions. We do have 2 citizen speakers signed up, however, this is a public hearing.
This is a short-term rental on 729 Robinson. It is a one-bedroom home which only requires 2 parking spaces. Already requires 2 as a residential property anyway. There are a few others that have been approved by CUP on this block. One on Tybee, and there's a grandfathered one further south on Tybee as well. There's the site plan and floor plan. They do have adequate parking, again, because it only requires 2 parking spaces. June 2nd, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended with unanimous vote. Be pleased to answer any questions.
Please, don't take my comments about anything about the planning
Absolutely.
department. It's just.
Drew, on this property, I'm passing my personal judgment. It looks like it could use some help. Are they in the process of doing some work to the house?
I'm not aware of one way or the other.
We
I'm not
don't
sure.
know where they might be in the process.
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't know that they have any repairs that require a permit either. So if they're just doing paint up, fix up, of course, we wouldn't have a permit for that either.
Okay.
So
None of that is taken into account when we do a CUP.
that's
right?
correct.
Yes.
We've seen several property owners do some remodel work ahead of time and some that wait till after they're approved. So we've seen both sides of that.
Is the owner here tonight?
Don't believe so.
Okay. So we don't know whether they've talked with neighbors and
do not.
anything of that nature. Would you go back to the slide that shows the others in the neighborhood?
So the one at the top of the screen is actually fronting on Tivy Street. That one was approved with conditional use permit. The two other on Robinson were approved by a conditional use permit. And then the one further south on Tivy is allowed by right in the RT district and has been in existence, I believe, for 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Which one's by right?
One at the very bottom of the screen.
On Tybee.
Oh, there we go.
On
It
Okay.
actually fronts on Tivy, but it's cut off right there. And then further down in the RT district, there's one or two more as you get closer to Broadway.
All right, council, any comments or questions for Drew?
My comments on 5B are apply to 5C as well.
Here.
All right, at this time, we will, at 6:46, we will open the public hearing.
Anna Ramirez.
Okay, again, I just say reiterate the same thing. I'm very disappointed that as a homeowner, I can't just be taken seriously. As a homeowner, I have just the same right that someone else has. What makes me feel inferior to this? I don't get it. And I know you said policy and writing a policy. When is that going to happen? I'm just disappointed. And I just feel like I'm an unheard person. Nobody cares. It's just very, very disappointed. Like you said earlier, Mr. Herring, I'm tired of it too. And I moved here 2 years ago because it was my dream to come here and retire here and live here with my husband, but he passed away before I moved here. So he didn't get to move with me.
I only want to say that you are being heard. We are hearing you very loud and clear.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you will be at the July 25th meeting, yes?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Karen Sides.
Just real quickly, I'm just going to ask that you show the same respect for the people living in residential neighborhoods that are zoned that way as you do for the people who are trying to use it differently than residential. Just that's all I'm asking, to respect that and to respect the 2050 plan, which just all throughout it talks about, revitalizing neighborhoods without replacing people. It talks about, just helping neighborhoods thrive. I'm just asking you to honor that and to honor those of us who are on the short end of the stick on this, which are the people who bought in with faith that a residentially zoned neighborhood would be residential. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your resolve. We understand we are as frustrated as you are. And that is why we are having that meeting, that town hall, just as soon as we possibly can. And we are torn. We understand how you feel. And it's not a good situation. And we want to resolve it as quickly as we can. So thank you both for your resolve. At 6:49, we will close the public hearing. Council, comments, questions, motions?
I move that we approve resolution number 41, 2022.
Is there a second? I will second it. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. And ladies, I hope that you will understand our situation when it comes to approving this. That yes, we could say no. Absolutely, we could say no. But we have no real basis for saying no other than just saying no, if that makes sense. So once we have a town hall meeting, once we have things in place, then it will give us something more to be able to say yes or no to. And I know It's hard to understand, and I know that it isn't what you want to hear, but we'll get there as quickly as we can. Thank you. All right, 6A.
Kerrville Police Department Body Camera In-Car Camera Replacement Project. And there are no citizen speakers signed up.
Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me the time to come before you to talk about our body camera and in-car camera replacement project. In 2021, early 2021, we did a review of all of our systems within the police department equipment. One of the items that we identified in need of replacement were our body camera, in-car camera system. Currently, our current conditions are, as we evaluate the system, our hardware is at end of life, meaning our cameras, anytime we have a camera go down, we send those in, we're having to pay to have those repaired because they're beyond warranty, as well as support equipment that goes along with those cameras, whether it be mounts that go on the uniform or equipment in the vehicle that the camera connects to, such as cradles that we have to dock our camera systems in now to download them. Currently, we only have two ways to download a body camera. One of those is to dock it into the vehicle docking station and take it to the police department and let it sit and offload wirelessly, or take it into the police department and dock it in the police department where it can offload inside the police department. We also have an issue currently with our server size. We're eating up server space. We currently own the server that we offload all of our video onto. We are constantly on the edge of filling that server. We recently had to review our policy in regards to retention of videos and shorten some of the time spans on videos not associated with criminal cases, still within the required records retention. Thank you. By the state, because we were holding them longer than were required. So we shortened that to open additional space on that server, so we didn't have to replace that as we knew we were working through this project over the last year. Our quality of our video, we're seeing degradation in the quality of video, syncing of audio and video as you're watching the videos. You can visually see that the audio does not sync with the video any longer. Our cameras are routinely becoming dislodged off of uniforms. I would say as we review use of force incidents, probably 25% of the time the camera ends up on the ground instead of on the officer videoing what is occurring. We definitely want to do everything we can to resolve that. We think transparency is important, especially in those incidents in which we want to make sure that that all things are being handled appropriately by our officers. Currently, to activate one of our cameras, you have to manually activate, meaning you have to manually push a button on it, or you have to manually flip a switch in a car to make it come on. This creates issues for us when we're responding to calls in which we want the officers thinking about other things other than flipping on a camera at the time. We want them being prepared for what they're moving into. We have no current uniform mounting location. If you look at the picture of Officer Smith there, you can see his camera mounted down low on his exterior body, his vest. You may see other officers that mount them more centered, more on the side. They try to mount those where it works with their equipment and where it's best for them. But by doing that, by not having a location we can constantly mount that, we don't get a consistent view of what's going on out in front of the officer. Currently, we have no redaction capabilities of our videos. So as we get requests, if we need to remove something from a video that cannot be released, we would have to try to go through a third-party software to try to make that happen. Our current software will not allow that internal to the system. And our technology is generally outdated from our offload method that we've already discussed. to other capabilities that we see available in more current technology, more current body cameras. As we went through this process over about 10 months ago, we started going through body camera providers. And of course, that also needs to sync with your in-car cameras. We identified body worn by utility as the best solution for our organization. It has internal uniform mounting options, which means the camera is mounted internal to the uniform to help prevent the camera from being ripped from the uniform. All cameras are mounted in the same location. That location has been proven to be the best location on an officer's uniform through studies. You get the best visual, there's fewer obstructions, so we feel very comfortable in that. It also has an officer down notification feature that if an officer goes down, it will begin making notifications, and I'll show you an example of that shortly. It also has foot pursuit activation, meaning if the officer goes into a quick motion, it activates the camera automatically. The officer does not have to physically activate the camera, as well as numerous vehicle activation capabilities, whether that be through flipping switches or removing a gun from a gun lock within the vehicle. You can even program it all the way to when a door opens on the vehicle, whether that be a back door or a front door, and it will automatically begin recording. The full system will kick on. It also comes with a Rocket wireless access point and GPS location. That Rocket wireless access point gives us technology capabilities that we don't currently have in the vehicle. It acts as a hotspot and allows us to connect other technology to it that we currently use in the vehicle to get those signals back to our office and push things into our car and back to the police department. The digital evidence management system includes a smart redaction. It's a very easy to use suite of redaction capabilities. Even a police officer can do it. So. The investment, if you'll notice, the numbers that you see on the screen are different than what you see in your packet. As I mentioned, we started this project over a year ago, and as we initially started getting the quotes, we were counting the vehicles that we had in our fleet at the time. We now have 4 additional vehicles sitting at an upfitter, waiting to be upfitted with equipment, as well as the marshal's vehicle that we missed in the initial count. So over the last 2 weeks, we've been working with utility to come to a pricing for those additional vehicles. And it's an additional $49,000 over the 5 years to have that equipment installed in those vehicles. That includes the Rocket, the body camera, or the camera, and the in-car camera system. Included in that price, you get the body cameras, you get the in-car cameras, you get the Rocket in-car wireless access points, as well as the digital evidence management system. We will need to upgrade our in-car computer system. We're currently using iPads in the vehicles. That's limiting our abilities to operate in the field. And this camera system needs to operate on a Microsoft system to allow you to access the camera from within the car. We currently don't have the ability to access in the field video. As I said, you have to go back to the station, offload that, and then you have to access it through the system. With this system, we'll be able to access it in the field, view it, and utilize the information on scene if necessary. We'll upgrade those to rugged Dell laptops, and along with that, we'll have to have the Havas in-car docking stations that actually dock the computer into the car. The NetMotion IT security and connectivity softwares will also be included with $3,528 price. And CAD integration and contingency costs at the bottom. This system will integrate into our CAD system, which is our computer-aided dispatch system. We can set up geofencing around calls as they are generated in the CAD system. The in-car computer system will recognize when one of our units moves inside that geofence and automatically activate the cameras as the officers are arriving on scene. So another opportunity to take that activity out of the officer's hands and automatically do that through pre-programmed policy in the cars. The total investment in this project is $680,320.10. This is a investment not only, I would say, in cameras, but also in officer safety. As I change the next slide, a video is going to come on. Not really, what you're seeing is not really important. More of what's important is what you're hearing and what the camera is doing in this incident. Just to kind of give some background of what's going on here. This was an officer at another department that had contacted a subject on a stalled vehicle in the roadway. Ended up in a foot chase and an officer-involved shooting. And what the camera is doing is very important. Should this officer have been in a position that he couldn't radio, the camera begins to operate and take that place. So.
And as you back right now. One. I bet you got this time.
Sending body work down in 10 seconds. Sending body work down in 5 seconds.
Baby. Right here.
Body work down.
So as you can hear, the camera immediately recognizes that officer is down and begins a countdown of it's going to start sending a notification that the officer is down. At the very end, it announces body worn down over his camera. Now he knows that information is going to anyone else that is actively on the system wearing a body camera. It will audibly tell them that officer whoever is down, and his location is being simultaneously sent to dispatch as well as to units in the field. That's part of the importance of having the in-car computer with this system. It will overlay on Google Maps and show where the officer is at in real time. The proposed funding source for this program is if you remember back in April, you approved the receipt of a body camera grant through the Office of the Governor for $238,466.25. And we're proposing the balance of that be paid with CIP funds via ARPA when those are received at the amount of $446,653.85 for the total project cost. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council, questions? Comments?
This isn't about the project source and funding, but when you were speaking, it did make me wonder about the use of the video and the ability to redact information, because I hadn't really ever thought about that before, but can certainly appreciate the sensitivity of that. So just, I guess, as a public comment for how and when and who oversees what gets redacted from software, how does that work? Or how will it work, I guess, in the future?
So we would lean heavily on William and his office to give us guidance on what we can and cannot redact. But when we made a decision, or if the Attorney General made a decision as to what information needed to be redacted, say it was a video that had children in it that we were going to redact, it literally what the software allows us to do is select that person in one frame, and then the software recognizes that person anytime they come into frame.
Okay. So there's the layers there to protect yourselves and the other officers from being accused of any kind of.
Right. That wouldn't be accessible to the officer on the street. That'll be handled through our evidence department once it is loaded and identified as evidence of a case.
Okay.
And then all of that is also tracked in the background, so any changes that are made shows who's logged in, who's made the changes, who's viewed the video, where that video has been sent. We have the ability to send links to the district attorney or the county attorney or the city attorney's office, where they can access without us having to physically burn a copy or physically move an entire file to another server.
And on a side note, congratulations, we have 4 officers that completed the academy, is that correct?
That's correct. Thursday night, four graduated, and 4 more started the academy Monday, and we have 3 currently that have been in the academy since April.
Congratulations.
Yes, that is. Congratulations. You answered one question for me. I wondered where the cameras went on a person. And I know it's difficult and in this world of technology, but these would last 5-6 years?
So technology usually has a life of about 5 years. With this proposal, anything that goes down during that 5-year time frame, they will replace. So we know as it ages, as it gets used, battery life starts reducing, those kind of things. This company will come in and replace the camera, which is really nothing more than a cell phone. They leverage the technology of a cell phone in their system. So they would then replace that. If we have problems with in-car cameras, they come in and replace those as well.
Good. Thank you. All right, council, any other questions or comments?
We're trying.
If
I'm trying to.
If you know that
We're
this is
just
gonna
trying.
be a 5-year investment, are we gonna be planning ahead for that?
This would be, again, so a great example of one of those pieces within our asset replacement program that going forward.
We'll plan for instead of
That's
just
right,
hoping we have
exactly,
them.
recognizing that future liability.
I don't do the same thing either.
Can I get some clarification on the funding of it? And it's okay if this is a typo, but it looks like after the changes of the funding sources, I mean, we're maxed out on the grant for the body cameras on the top. The CIP fund, the ARPA funds there, if we add the two together, it goes up to 685.
Yeah.
So I guess what's that?
That's what we were finding too.
Okay.
Doing the math.
So I guess we'll be a little bit lower. We'll be to 441,000, right? On the CIP for the ARPA funds. Just want to make sure, unless the actual total, it should be higher than that.
We
Yeah,
need
the
an accurate motion, and the
Yes,
numbers don't
absolutely.
add up.
So 495, there should be 49,000 additional dollars on the 495,000 for the utility portion of the
495.
project.
We don't have a 495. We've got,
We're just trying to make sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a total project investment of 680,320.10. Now, you've already see, we know that the number has changed from what we've got in here.
The next slide.
But the grant funding is the same. The grant funding is 238,466.25.
Right. Yeah. So
So the balance is what we need to distribute in ARPA funds and include in the motion. So I want to be sure that balance amount is correct.
No, absolutely. So
Do
if
you have your phone? Can you do the math?
yeah, no, if you go back real quick to go forward on your slide, go back to the one we got. So it should be 441,000 853
Right.
and 85 cents.
441,
Yeah.
853.
Just quick math.
Yeah.
Huh?
Just quick math.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, the question is it the ARPA or is it the total?
It's the
amount?
ARPA.
Yeah.
The ARPA one
Yeah.
was wrong. Okay.
Okay, and with that, can I make a motion?
You may make a motion,
Okay,
yes.
I'm gonna make 2, and the first one is to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute a contract with Utility Associates, Inc. And my second motion is to authorize the use of American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds in the amount of $441,853.85.
Add up.
And finish you need to finish that
For the portion.
for the portion of the project.
Yeah, this line right here for the portion.
For the portion of the project not covered by grant funds.
And I'll
Thank you.
second that as a one-part motion if you're good with that.
Yes.
Or a two-part motion, but all in
Yes.
one if you're good with that.
I'm
Yeah,
good
I'll
with
second
that.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Good job.
All
Thank you.
right, thank you for
Thank you.
finding that, and it is approved. Thank you, chief.
I was panicking.
I was the number 3. That didn't matter.
All right, we are ready for 7A.
Kerrville Economic Development Corporation quarterly update, and there are no citizen speakers signed up.
All right, Mr. Salinas, good evening. Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the council, Gilberto Salinas with the Kerr Economic Development Corporation. I'll start with the TEDC conference in Corpus Christi. The KEDC was recognized by the Texas Economic Development Council, the governor's team, and Commissioner Aaron Demerson with the Workforce Excellence Award. The TEDC every year awards one community in 6 population categories. The KEDC was recognized in the 15,000 to 40,000 population for excellence in economic development and workforce based on innovativeness, proactiveness, measured objectiveness, ancillary economic benefits, which is basically economic impact on the project that we've recruited, and then commitment by the community, which is basically the stakeholders, in this case the city council and our different stakeholder groups. With the KEDC, we're recognized for developing the aerospace cluster with KMM, Gulf Avionics, RBR Aviation, as of late also Rice Aircraft. Also the JET grant that Ingram ISD received about a few months ago, and that was for welding and cybersecurity programs. A couple of other companies, KMM and All Plastics, also received workforce funding. The signing showcase with KISD, Ingram, and Centerpoint ISD, and also the Kerrville Together initiative, our crisis management during COVID and post-pandemic as well. And then helping to develop the talent through our Entrepreneur Center. So that's everything that went into the recognition as far as what we're working on. And again, it's pretty exciting and quite the honor to receive this award, being the #1 in the state for this particular population category. And again, this is for creativity and strategies that we employ in economic development. Moving on to some of our projects. Killdeer Mountain Manufacturing, they've hired another cohort of 7 local employees. That brings our total to 51. So the reason I bring it up is that they're originally anticipated to be at about 50 to 60 employees by end of year. They've hit that already. They're expecting to surpass that here in the next few months as well. And then also on the relationship marketing side, they were invited by the governor's office to attend the Farnborough Air Show in London. That's in a couple of weeks, and if you're not familiar with that, that's the biggest air show in the world. Everybody that has all of the decision makers and influencers in aerospace, aviation, and the space sector are there at that particular show. So Killdeer has been asked to attend with the state of Texas at their booth, so they'll be waving the Kerrville flag there for us and helping generate leads, which ultimately could lead to business for us as well. Business for them, which is business for the community. On the Breeze side, on our Entrepreneur Center, we helped a couple of local entrepreneurs in establishing some of their businesses here in the Kerrville area. One is in the spirits industry, looking at a possible partnership between Shriner and the Texas wineries. And it's very just exciting because we've already seen some of these percolate. Very exciting to see how the craft ag is really starting to take off in our area. We also worked with a couple of auto technicians / turned entrepreneurs. They came into the office, they needed help with their business plan and projections, so on and so forth. Not necessarily in our wheelhouse, but when people walk in, we don't turn them away. I mean, we'll give them our time and try to guide them through the process. I was an entrepreneur once, or kind of still am, so I know exactly what they're going through. So again, help those individuals. Also working with another local entrepreneur that's looking at launching a family entertainment center of sorts. Still very preliminary. Look into some. Looks like it's gaining some good traction. EA and his team will be working with that particular project. We'll be in a support role now moving forward. We also hosted last month our second quarterly industry roundtable discussion. We had AJ Rodriguez of the Texas 2036. That's a legislative advocacy group. Great discussion on challenges as far as Texas, our growth. Also how best prepared we are here in Kerrville to capture some of that growth and be able to pick and choose what we want as far as Central Texas. In addition to Kerrville, We also had representatives from Kendall, Gillespie, Riel, and Uvalde counties. And again, that's part of our efforts to have a regional collaboration with our neighboring EDOs. Next roundtable is scheduled for September, so you all will be getting an invite for that. Schreiner University, met with Dr. McCormick actually a few times here in the last quarter, looking at some federal grant opportunities, specifically in the STEMS field and economic development. We also met with a visiting president of Bismarck State College, and that's in North Dakota. And that was part of the introductions from Kilder about a year ago. They're looking at some kind of a partnership specifically with workforce and talent, some possible opportunities with aerospace and drones. And I think at the last council meeting, I mentioned that we have a drone project in play, which pays some very good wages, and they're both in manufacturing as well as R&D. This is the portal by which we've been working this particular project. So again, just kind of connecting the dots and trying to make it happen. We also met with Ricardo Rendon. He's with the Texas Workforce Commission. He's the regional rep, so provided him, he's new to the organization, a community tour, and just kind of started talking about some ideas, challenges that we have, and how to tap into some of our local workforce. So we're already looking at developing some Kerrville-specific programs to make sure there's no stone unturned when it comes to our low unemployment rate. The career signing day showcase, that was in May. We had more than 30 high school seniors that attended that were a part of that. So it's basically a ceremonial signing, very similar to when athletes sign for a university. The same thing, except we're doing this with industry. This is an idea that we got from some of our site selector our colleagues that said, hey, look, this is what my clients' companies are looking for. So those included, there were 3 from Kerrville ISD, 9 from Centerpoint ISD, and 11 from Ingram ISD. Some of the trades that were represented is welding, plumbing, electricians, construction, dental assistants, and culinary management, which was interesting, but that falls in the category of primary jobs as well. Next year we're looking at a bigger event, working with school districts. Council member Garcia, you mentioned about the private schools, so we've been reaching out. They all want to be a part of it, make it bigger. And in their words, they said, we want to capture every high school senior that's going to be employed by some of our major employers in the area and recognize them. So a very good first step in what it's going to be an annual showcase for us. The Business Innovation Forum, we're going to start promoting that next month already, and that's in conjunction with the Office of the Governor. They're going to start promoting next month as well, the Small Business Series Conference. And that's going to be in Kerrville. So it's going to be a one-day event. Half day is going to be the governor's team. Then the other half, we're going to have our lineup of speakers. And usually when they host these, they host 3 to 4 of these around the state. So for Central Texas, which includes the San Antonio and Austin, it's going to be in Kerrville. And they'll be attracting between 250 to 300 businesses from Central Texas here to Kerrville for their expo that they're going to be having. And then we'll have our lineup of speakers. Then we'll close with a networking mixer at the Trailhead Beer Garden. So that's going to be in October. Okay, so in closing, the stakeholder retreat, we hosted that was last month. We had representatives from the EIC, the City Council, County Commission, KPUB, and the KDC. So those are our stakeholder groups, which are basically the funders for our organization. Had some meaningful discussions. Some of y'all were there for that. About economic development, some of our challenges as it pertains to business, industry, so on and so forth. Workforce, talent, and then also now really exploring what we call external variables that are affecting our workforce and talent. And to no surprise, that's housing and that's child daycare. Again, that's kind of like an offshoot of what we do, but we're moving in the direction where we're going to start taking on some of that. And then also, some of the discussions was tapping into some of the workforce that's not online right now. And by that, I mean our retiree population, veterans, and then our disabled population. I mean, those are, again, some groups that we can tap into as far as getting them into the workforce. And the state has some programs for this as well. Next steps, the consultants will be crunching the data, the information from some of the one-on-one interviews and the retreat itself. And then they'll have a draft strategic plan for us next month. And then by October, the end of our fiscal year, our board will be approving the 3-year official strategic plan for us, which is kind of a first for me since I've been here, because we were working on a 2-year roadmap. Not exactly a strategic plan, but now we'll have an actual strategic plan. That concludes my quarterly report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, congratulations on all of your successes and the awards that you
Well, thank you.
got. That's very impressive.
Yes, I echo the congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, well,
Puts us on the map.
Yeah.
So
It's-
that's wonderful.
we're passionate about what we do, and we're having fun, and we have a great product.
Great. I also congratulate you and thank you for the sign-in events. I just think that was a really great idea, and glad that we participated, and surprised we had so many from 2 smaller schools. So that's even better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you got a lot going on. Appreciate y'all taking the feedback and applying that there. In that area.
Absolutely.
So it's awesome. Thank you.
Kim, anything?
Thank you.
Joe? You're good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gil. We appreciate it very much. All right, and next we have
CIP.
Community Investment Plan Projects Quarterly Update.
Good evening, Mayor
Good
and
evening,
Council.
Kyle. Thank you.
Glad to see you've got the handouts. I got to thinking they just have little screens and stuff. So, stop me at any point to ask questions. So there's no wait till the end kind of thing. I'm just going to brief you on a few of these, not every single one of these. Real quick, kind of a street overview. Did you have a question?
Just real quick, preliminary. Is this one that was placed at our seats a little bit different than the one that we received over the weekend?
No, that should be the same.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so basically what we do is, I believe it's June 29th. Just go on the previous month. So there is some updates that I will give you that will not be on here.
Sure.
And so that will be conveyed onto the next one.
Okay,
This
thank you.
does get, for citizens and for your, to pass along, this does get posted to the city website. Real briefly, street reconstruction maintenance, the bond reconstruction, phase 2, we're still waiting on some metal plates to arrive. Not that you could imagine, but we're having some delays. So that one is still on here. We're substantially complete. We're just trying to get these plates in so we can do our TDLR inspection and close out that project with Alamo City. On the maintenance side of things, to assist the streets department, we've completed the patching, and the same contractor was awarded the crack seal. They're in progress and should be done tomorrow, if not Thursday. So, with that being said, the next phase of that will be the slurry seal. This weekend, we're going to enter into, hopefully, start advertising the slurry seal project to bring forward a contract to you to cover most of those streets with slurry seal. I'm going to skip a little bit ahead here. The lowest drainage, kind of formally identified as Take It Easy. Most of the concrete, or actually all of the concrete on the bottom is done. Now they're going vertical on the walls. It's a significant, if you have not seen it, I highly recommend going by there. It is a significant change from the jungle that we used to have to deal with in the streets department, having to clean up. So the contractor's doing a phenomenal job. And as much as we don't like the drought, it's been great for him to be pours every week. We've been on schedule with that one. So, looking to wrap that up possibly late this month, first part of or kind of mid-August. So that one will be functional. Then we will basically be in a holding pattern on the drainage until the TxDOT segment gets done. That is kind of a segue into the next one.
Are we on their radar for that?
We're on their radar, but they're waiting on us. So
Okay.
you have to have a utility clearance, and part of that clearance is the NAP wastewater collection system project. That's the forest main and sewer main. So that is number 17. The reason that one's just kind of been stagnant for a while, we're still waiting on Water Development Board environmental clearance. We've been waiting on that for about 8 months now. So we've just been holding. We cannot even advertise until we get that clearance. So, that's just an update on that. But NAP project, Westminster Street and Utilities, and then the Water Street water line. We hope, I believe Stuart kind of briefed you all last time on an economy of scale. Intent is we're hoping that once we get that clearance from Water Development Board, I know the other two are not Water Development Board funded, but we're hoping that we can attract contractors that, hey, okay, let's, you may not be awarded all of these, but let's get the best price for Kerrville on those three. So right now it's difficult. So we're hoping to garner more interest in having more work for them in town. So the next one I have for you is the library. We had the Tranquility Island substantially complete. It's ready to be lit up. The stairs to the island are complete. Parks has finished their little safety segments as well. So I think Ashley is scheduling a ribbon cutting with you guys in the near future. But we will open it up prior to that. And
So it isn't opened yet.
I would have to check with her,
The
but
ramp?
I believe it was open.
It's open. I used it on 4th of July.
It's
Yeah.
Good,
That was the intent, was to have it open before that
Yeah.
weekend.
good.
We did have it closed for the fireworks, and people were,
Right.
I thought y'all said it was open. Yes, it was closed for the fallout area.
Y'all did have a sign that said that, so.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Staying on the library campus, the AC Shriner House, Heart of the Hills Center, however you want to remember that by. It's Shell Hayes Mansion. A lot of different names get thrown out. We want to call it the Heart of the Hills Heritage Center. We got 5 qualified applicants that submitted in the design build application. So in the next phase of that, we just all 5 are qualified. We're going to move all 5 to the proposal stage. We're working with Freese and Nichols to, if you recall, they're the owner's rep on the design build. We're working with them to draft that proposal, and that's something that gets sent out. It's not published or anything because only these 5 can bid. It was mandatory for that process. So probably give them about a month to sharpen pencils. Hopefully by the end of August, early September, come back to you with a recommendation of award on that for the design build. So,
Can we ask on that, do we have, are some local?
majority are local.
They are?
All within, what was the furthest, 65, 68 miles? Yeah, depending on which, I think you used MapQuest or something. But yes, east side of San Antonio. Yeah, my office, City Hall. But yes, east side of San Antonio was the furthest.
Okay.
But of those applicants that submitted, there's a heavy influx of local contractors. And also from the design side as well. Water, wastewater.
Another question, just a curiosity question. Have all of these done a design build project yet?
Yes, ma'am.
They have.
That was a requirement.
That was a requirement.
Yes,
Good, good.
So that's and it's something that I think Mr. New had alluded to, that a lot of the industry is kind of stepping towards this. They're getting away from the CMARs and even kind of the conventional design bid build that we do. They're going into that design build, and we started asking some of the locals, "Are you going to be able to?" And they said, "We've got 6 right now that are in design and construction." Okay, simple answer, yes for that one. So great to hear that. So it's nothing that is out of their purview. We can keep it local.
Good, thank you.
Okay, water wastewater master plan. So we will be bringing a draft proposal or draft report of that one. We're working with Julie in the finance department to draft the CIP budget and everything based on the findings. But we will have that draft report ready for you hopefully by the end of this month. I think we're looking at the next meeting. I don't remember if it's a workshop or meeting. We will bring that to you with some overview of what we have on that. Guadalupe River Utility Crossing. If you haven't already seen, we've got some traffic delays, which is good in this case because we're actually working. The contractor is moving exceptionally fast on the overhead structure, and expected to basically be done in about 2 to 3 weeks. There was a little bit of hiccups with some condensed timing on TxDOT, but we've been working with them to get that window extended a little bit further. So bear with us while that lane of traffic is down. We're still going to be here for a little bit, but in the long run, it's going to really.
So it's ahead of schedule from here?
Ma'am?
Is it ahead of schedule then?
What do you want to go with schedule? If you recall, this one had about a year delay on the materials. So,
Well, I mean, according to this.
So, well, we still have some underground work to be done. The overhead is going a little bit faster than expected. We expected about 2 to 3 months on the basic hanging it from the bridge. These guys, that's their, in their wheelhouse of what they do every day, and they're going to have this entire thing knocked out in about a month. So that portion, yes, is much more ahead of schedule than where we anticipated once the materials were arriving. So, and the reason we have the September is just because all the testing, the underground connections and stuff like that. All right. I mentioned Tranquility Island. So the island has been energized. It's ready for Ashley to host her events. Snow blowers and all these different things, light the trees. And then in the meantime, we're working with the GLO to acquire an easement for basically the pedestrian bridge close to Limos. That's kind of the snafu right now with the not the Francisco Limos Bridge itself, but if you recall, there's a little river trail bridge below it. We cannot utilize the same easement as much as I hope with GLO as the keepers of the waters of the U.S. We have to go back to them. So I've submitted the request. We'll see where that goes. Hopefully it's not a long delay so we can go into phase 2 and have the private entities raise the fundings. So, schedule on that probably, based on what we're seeing out of state, 3 to 6 months before we can get a formal response. The last thing that I really have is the public safety facility. So if you recall the last meeting, you authorized the purchase of the real estate that has been completed. So the first major step is done. We also did the design for the wastewater realignment. So we held that kickoff meeting with Fraser Nichols, and we'll just start moving into the design of that. And in the meantime, I think next meeting we're going to bring scope to you with the owner's representative aspect of the design build. So that is all I have that I was going to highlight. Any questions?
I want you to win the lottery so we can put the river trail on the other side from G Street to downtown. So thank you. Thank you so much. All right, and next we're getting lots of information tonight.
Neighborhood Enhancement Team update.
Good evening.
Thanks for being here.
I should be fairly quick. I won't take full 10 minutes, I don't think. But I don't promise. My 10 minutes, 60 minutes. Just depends. I'm just kidding. So I just want to remind everybody what NET program is. It's basically a collaborative effort led by code enforcement. Code enforcement works with our various departments in the city and with various collaborating organizations within the city as well. So we have different partners that we try to utilize to help us address some of the issues that we're seeing in the neighborhoods. And so the NET program or the NET team has been in existence since 2019, and we've had some delays for various reasons, COVID being the main one, but we've been able to complete 3 projects to date, and I'll go through each one of those here in a few minutes. As you can see, our first project was in the Doyle area community, and so we broke that up into 2 phases. We have phase 1 and phase 2 of those projects, and so this outline here gives you an idea of the areas that we worked in. To give you an idea of what we did in phase 1, to remind you, really, because it's been a while since we've sat here and give you an update on the NET program, was 1, we put a fence up, and that's basically covering the city yard from Paxel Street, and so that was a very good improvement on that area. It kind of blocked off the city yard. The other thing, we changed some of the signs as well. So we colored them, they wanted purple, so we've got the purple signs, and we call them the Doyle District. Another area that we did, we went in and improved some alleyways, and this is one of the alleyways where we cut out and cleaned out the area. There was a lot of tree trimming that was done as well, and so it gave a lot of the access to the alleyway as well. We also demolished 2 homes in that area, and those were volunteer demolitions, so the property owners gave us permission to go in and demolish these homes. As you can see here, that was the first one. This is the second home. And then in phase 2 was a little bit smaller, but we were able to go out and work with KPUB in this case and got some tree trimming done along some of the power lines where the trees were covering. We also went and did some siding work with some homeowners. And then we also got this as a donation, that ramp, and we were able to replace a ramp that was existing on one of the property owners' homes. And then, but As we move forward, we do have a small process that we follow to ultimately decide where we're going to work on in the next coming year. And so the process consists of basically 4 phases. There's a little bit more details into it, but the 4 phases themselves are: identify the area of opportunity, we evaluate the area, and then we coordinate improvements, and then we conduct cleanup itself. And so we're using this map. It's a map that we created for Zen City, but what we try to do is outline the different neighborhoods that we find throughout the city of Kerrville.
So before you leave that slide,
Yes, sir.
just real quick, I want to elaborate on that third bullet. Coordinate is the key word there on improvement. So for some of these elements that are public infrastructure, or if they're in public rights of way, then we're utilizing staff resources. A big portion of what this effort is really the coordination of some of that private volunteer work and private philanthropy that may be out there that's willing to go in and help other nonprofits or other volunteer organizations, Boy Scouts, etc., that may be willing to come and do improvements on private property that also potentially help homeowners with access issues and accessibility issues and things of that nature. So we want to be very clear in the distinction of the use of public funds and then the coordination of staff for the use of private funds and private volunteerism.
So the area that we worked on this summer was the Legion area, and that is an area that we thought would be the great opportunity. And how we came to that decision as well was that we used the data that's collected through Donna's code enforcement cases. And so in this case, we looked at the area. If you look at the map itself, you can see a lot of cases throughout, but the area that caught our attention is if you look at the red dots, and just in that area, there were 6 dots that were in that area, and basically it was 6 cases that received final notices. And basically, that is just before she issues a citation to those homeowners or property owners. And so in this case, those specific cases, there were 3 were for trash, 1 was for an unsecured structure, 1 was for a junk vehicle, and 1 was for illegal dumping. But when you break it out even further, you can see all the different type of cases that were in that specific area, from 21 that were trash and rubbish. I won't read every single one of them, but 2 for illegal dumping and so forth, and some I already mentioned. So this was an area that we said, this is a good opportunity for us to address that particular area. And so we were able to coordinate with the streets department in this case. We were able to coordinate with them, and they did some work prior to our event, or the clean day that we called it. And so they went in and cleaned out some of the gutters and cleaned out some of the drainage. You can see a before and after picture. And here's another one. Basically, they're on the other side of it, but they cleaned out the drainage so that the water could flow a lot more cleanly. We also had the streets department go out and do some potholing. They also cleaned out some of the edges around the streets to make the streets safer. And they also did a lot of tree trimming in the area. So if the trees were in the right of way, hanging over, they cleaned out that as well. And here's just some additional pictures of them working and cleaning some trees. Another thing that we did was communication-wise, and this is basically Donna and some of the staff members from Development Services and also from Public Works going out and passing these letters that you see. And they went door to door, trying to deliver the letters to individual homeowners. In some cases they were successful, in other cases they weren't. And part of that is that letter was also in English and in Spanish. So it wasn't just one language. We try to communicate in different methods. And what we're trying to do is communicate to them when we were going to have the cleanup, but also communicate to them what things we weren't going to take as part of the cleanup as well. You're talking about some tires, you're talking about batteries, some paints. Those are the things that we didn't want, but we wanted a lot of their rubbish. Another thing is we coordinate, as Mr. Hoppy was talking about earlier, was coordinating between the homeowner and community organizations. In this situation, she offered services. A lot of the homeowners declined it, but we try to communicate them and connect them anyways. But that's ideally what we try to do, whether it be veteran services, whether it be different churches or different community services that are available to them. We try to communicate and coordinate with them and the homeowner to bridge that gap. So what we did on our improvement on 5/21, we had our net cleanup day. And so what we ended up doing was renting out 2 30 trash bins, 30-foot trash bins. And we had individuals start coming in from 9 o'clock in the morning. They were bringing their trash and rubbish, their excess trash that didn't get picked up during the bulk pickup. So they were able to come in. You can see people brought their trailers. They filled up the back of their trucks, and we just started dumping all that stuff. And we started filling up those containers as much as possible.
Did you take most anything?
Pretty much everything that they brought, we didn't turn anybody away. We had from as big as refrigerators. Here's a refrigerator that we had that was already reduced out of its Freon, didn't have any more Freon on it, so we took it, threw it in the dump. We also had some mattresses. We also had some furniture. We had a living room set that was disposed of as well. And here's a picture of the bin itself. We were only fortunate enough to unfortunately, we were only able to fill out one bin. But when you looked at it, it was 3,260 pounds of tonnage that we were able to do. Streets improvements, one of the things that we were able to do, I got a communication from Brandon that they were able to fill out 16 potholes, but they did a lot of edge work. And then from the tree trimming, they did 2.83 tons of tree trimming that they were able to get rid of. So the next area, we looked at again, looking back at this map, and so we identified an area, as you can see highlighted there, and we tried to utilize the neighborhoods, and so we identified the Rickson and the Westland neighborhood to go after this time around and look at the different projects or do the NET program there. And so you can kind of see around the neighborhoods, you can see the green dots are basically where she has code cases or has had code cases. And so when you break that down, the majority of the code cases that she has was 27 cases for trash and debris, and then 4 for high grass and weeds, and then 3 for illegal signs. And then you kind of break that down even further, but I didn't do that for this case. I do want to give a special thank you out to these individuals here. One was the Kerrville Church of the Nazarene, which was Malcolm and Beverly Bolter. They actually volunteered their church. We were able to use their parking lot to stage those bins and coordinate to remove the trash and rubbish from the neighborhood. And also Toss It Dumpsters, Matt Myers, he came out. He's the one that provided the bins for us. And then, of course, the city staff that came out and helped us, not only during that event, but prior to. So these are all the names that are up there that we like to thank and say and appreciate all their hard work. So questions and recommendations?
Good job.
Yes.
Council feel comfortable with the area that we've selected
Yes,
as
I've questioned how that's been picked out, but I love that it's data driven.
And that's what we try to do.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So other than that, I'd just like to recognize Donna's here with me, so
Great
she
job,
did a great
guys.
job.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Donna.
Yes.
What method do you use to get consent and permission from the property owners to basically eliminate the liability that the city may have if we were to do so?
So like a demolition. So on those instances, we have a form that we utilize, and that form basically calls out certain requirements and what our responsibilities are and what their responsibilities are going to be as well. And then they're basically waiving any damages for the city as well. So they sign that document, and then from there we proceed to do the work. But we don't do any work until that's signed.
Sure, of course. Have you reached out to, and I'm not saying they may or may not commit, but first the Christian Men's Job Corps, I know they used to have I think they called it the CSI, the Community Service Initiative or Infusion. And it was kind of like an annual event that they had where the community would kind of get together, people could sign up to have certain parts, either that or,
Donna can correct me, but I believe they don't do that anymore.
Actually, I reached out to Christian Men's Job Corps. They help me a lot on my projects.
Awesome, really? Okay, cool.
But the event itself that you're talking about, I don't think they do.
But they do help me out a lot.
Okay, awesome. That's good. And I was thinking, I don't know if we want to somehow try to do an annual event to bring kind of the community together. I think it's a good idea to bring, and we could even use Shriner. I know students there. It would be an encouragement for community service in that way, and students all throughout the community. But I think it's also a good way to kind of know your neighbor too, that kind of thing. If we select a neighborhood.
Well, the original idea for the NET program was to have what's called an actual NET event day.
Right.
And part of that was to get like even the new the new library vehicle over there, and then give them an opportunity. But since COVID, we haven't been able to actually formalize that. And so maybe with this new section that we're going to do, we can try to organize that a little bit better.
Yeah.
This one, just because it was late in the summer and we were trying to get that project done, we just try to coordinate with who we had already.
No, absolutely. I have no
contact with.
complaints about what y'all did. I think y'all did a really good job. Yeah, just some ideas thrown out there. Yeah, thank you for all y'all do. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Anything else, council? No. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, well, we'll let Shelley read this in and then we'll get the chief up here.
Appointment to the Emergency 911 Network Board of Directors.
Mayor, Council, this time I won't make you do any math for me. Frank Galvin is our communications manager in our dispatch center. We were asking for a reappointment for him to the 911 Kerr County 911 board. He has been serving on that board and is looking for an additional 2-year term on that board. We believe he's a subject matter expert. He works closely with Mark Del Toro of Kerr 911, and I think he would represent us well on that board.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move to reappoint Kerrville Police Department Communications Manager Frank Galvin to the City of as the City of Kerrville's representative to the 911 Board of Directors.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. And thank him for being willing to do that again. All right, we have reached the end of our regular evening. And at this time, do we have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
I'll move to go into executive session under sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.8087.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
That wasn't a very enthusiastic second, but we'll take it. All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, we will adjourn to executive session, and we don't know whether we'll have anything for anyone when we come out. It is 7:47. We will go. All right, we are back from executive session at 8:37. There is no action that will be taken from executive session tonight. And pardon?
Items for future.
Oh, items for future.
Sorry.
Yes, I had it on my list. Thank you. Are there any items for future agenda?
I do have one. Many of us are aware that we have a TML annual conference coming up. And like I proposed last year, I would like to submit a request for a future agenda item to appoint a City of Kerrville delegate for the 2022 Texas Municipal League Annual Conference Business Meeting. If anybody has questions, I'm willing to answer that. But do you want me to provide more information, or?
Do we have a second to put that on a future agenda?
Second.
We have a second. All right.
And my request simply because the conference is in October, in the beginning of October, I would request that the agenda item be placed for consideration possible action no later than our first meeting in September, so that person gets time to register and
Okay.
be ready for it.
All right. Anyone else? Future agenda items? And at 8:38, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Good meeting, good meeting.